All right, everyone, Tuesday morning and a few different things to cover today as we continue through the week, continue through the summer. Do you want a bit of good news, everyone? Well, here it is. We are just 2.5 weeks from seeing Celtic back in action. Yes, you heard that correctly. In just 17 days' time, we'll open our pre-season campaign with a visit to Queen's Park. There's a bit of good news for us all. Come on. Obviously no Celtic at the moment. We're the best part of a month on from the Scottish Cup final now. Kind of missing it. At least we have some competitive football at the moment. How are you all feeling about the Club World Cup? I think we're 8 games in now at this stage. A fair bit of scepticism about the tournament. I think there's always an element of that when something new comes along. Obviously, there's some pretty valid concerns about various parts of the competition as well. The influence from Saudi Arabia, the amount of football that's being played, the lack of a summer rest for some of the top players in the world, various other concerns. In terms of the actual football, and I don't know how much you've seen, I've quite enjoyed it so far. There's been the odd poor game, a couple of 0-0 so far, but even the opening game, which was Inter Miami and Al Ahly, was a pretty good match for a goalless draw. So yeah, I get that the tournament's got its critics. I'm not minding it so far. You can let me know how you're all enjoying it. It is at least football during the summer months. I did notice that in terms of a Celtic link, Odin Thiago Holmes' team, LAFC, played their opening game earlier. They lost to Chelsea. Holmes didn't even get off the bench, so not ideal for him. But if you're anything like me, then you may be wondering if there's any chance of Celtic participating in this competition going forwards. And straight away, you're probably thinking, nah, there's absolutely no chance. I mean, Celtic are a good team, but we're not quite at that level of the top teams who are making it from UEFA. But I'm going to briefly explain, hopefully not for too long, why it isn't actually quite as unrealistic a goal as you may think. And a big shout out to my pal Gamba, who brought this up in one of the group chats I'm in yesterday and kind of laid the groundwork for me to have a wee look at this. So, yeah, basically UEFA have 12 of the 32 spots in this Club World Cup. It'll be the same in the next one in 2029. Each Champions League winner from the 4-year spell automatically qualifies for the Club World Cup. So Paris Saint-Germain have already qualified for the next one, courtesy of them winning the Champions League just there. And each of the next 3 winners of the Champions League will qualify as well. That should then leave 8 spots left for European teams, assuming that a different team wins the Champions League every year. And then those 8 spots then go to teams based on how they performed in the UEFA Champions League over the 4 years. So starting last year and then the 3 years to come. So the Europa League and the Conference League don't have anything to do with this. So it's different to like how UEFA coefficients work, for example. It's a whole different system. So this is basically open to teams who consistently play in the UEFA Champions League. Sorry, Rangers. The more matches you win, the more rounds you go through, the more points you gain, and the higher you are up in this league table that then sees whether or not you'll make it to the Club World Cup. And you're probably thinking right away, okay, even if there's 8 teams left of the teams who don't win the Champions League, there's no chance Celtic are going to be in the top 8, even allowing for the teams who qualify in the Champions League. Well, there's also a rule here that says that each country can only have a maximum of 2 teams qualifying for the Club World Cup. So that's why, like Liverpool, for example. In fact, let's just take a wee look at this. And so this is for the Club World Cup that's happening at the moment. Teams in green won one of the Champions Leagues. Also, Real Madrid won 2 of them, so they automatically qualify. Teams in yellow then qualified as a result of being high up the list. But you see 8th place there, Liverpool, they didn't make it because two English teams had already qualified. So they miss out, their place goes to Porto, and so on and so on. And you see near the bottom in 18th place, Red Bull Salzburg qualify. That's because they were the next best team from a country who hadn't already filled their two spots, if that makes sense. So Red Bull Salzburg qualify for the Club World Cup, and they do it having, over the 4 years in the Champions League, had 3 group stage appearances and 1 where they made it to the round of 16. Now, fairly consistent, fairly impressive, I'd say, for a club like Red Bull Salzburg, but hardly like anything remarkable, really, to get through to the Club World Cup and scoop the tens of millions of pounds on offer. And when you're looking at that, 3 group stage appearances, 1 in the round of 16, you're kind of thinking, right, maybe if Celtic can keep up the kind of form that we showed last year, then something like that could be possible. Now, again, this is on Wikipedia. This is just a wee look at what things are looking like in the very early stages of qualification for the 2029 FIFA Club World Cup. And yeah, as you say, Paris Saint-Germain already qualified as a result of winning the Champions League just there. A lot of teams in yellow there. Again, only 2 teams per country. So again, Liverpool missing out as things stand at the moment. If you scroll down, no Celtic there yet. But given how we performed last year in the Champions League, making it through to the playoff round, I think if we qualify for the league phase of the Champions League this coming season, I'm pretty sure we'd be in this top 20 as things stand. And yeah, as I just reiterate, only 2 teams per country allowed, 12 teams in total qualifying. There's a fair chance that, you know, someone like Benfica or Feyenoord or even Club Brugge, as things stand, qualify. So yeah, it's still obviously much more likely that Celtic wouldn't be able to qualify for this, but I think if we do find some sort of consistent level in the Champions League, like if we're able to reach the league phase of the competition for the next 3 seasons, possibly get through into the top 24 in 2 of the next 3, again, that's a pretty big ask for Celtic. I mean, we had pretty favourable fixtures last season, but it is doable. I think if we were able to do that, we'd be in with a real shout of being one of the 12 teams to qualify for the next Club World Cup. And that would be pretty amazing, wouldn't it? As much as the tournament has its detractors, if Celtic were somehow there, it would be pretty cool. There's also been a bit of chat recently about FIFA expanding the competition to 48 teams for the next version. So again, if something like that was to happen, that would clearly play into our hands as well. So yeah, as I say, still a real tall order. If you're asking me, are Celtic going to be at the next Club World Cup, I would say probably not. But if we can find some sort of good level consistently in Europe and back up what we did last season, this coming season, next season, then, you know, I think we'll be in some sort of run, and there'll certainly be a bit of a conversation that emerges about it. So anyway, thought I'd tell you all that. Right, more current matters, let's just say right now. We mentioned the Japanese defender Hayato Inamura yesterday. And a bit of an update on him coming from Japan and Sponichi, who you probably have heard of in recent years. They're kind of, I think, the main Japanese football or sport website going around. A lot of stories on there. And just reading a story they have up about Inamura, via translation, it reads, by the 16th, it was confirmed that Celtic would acquire Niigata's big rookie defender Hayato Inamura. According to multiple sources, negotiations are progressing smoothly and the official contract is scheduled to be signed after a medical check on site. So this is coming from the Japanese side. They say multiple sources there, not just Stephen McGowan and the Herald, but I always think when you're getting reports from the Scottish side, the Celtic side, and also like the Japanese side, then there's something in this. That was certainly what happened with the signings we've made from there in the past. Remember, I think Hatate was a big one. There was like loads of chat about Hatate in the Japanese media. And it kind of, for a while, I just think just been accepted that Hatate would be going to Celtic in Japan, even when it hadn't quite been realised in Scotland yet. So I wonder if something similar is going on here. And certainly in Japan, they seem to think this is a move that's going to happen. I guess in terms of next steps, the next step would be finding out that Inamura is on a flight to Scotland to undergo a medical. Clearly, if things get to that stage, then a deal is looking pretty likely. I watched a little bit of him earlier on. We get the rights to the J1 League games here via Optus Sport. So I just had a wee look at the last match that Inamura played. I went onto my app and it was a 1-0 win for Alberic's Niigata against Ange and Daisen's old team, Yokohama F. Marinos. And it said man of the match, and it was Inamura. And I thought, okay, he must have had a pretty good game. So I went and just looked at the game and kind of skipped through it. But whenever he had the ball, he looked pretty comfortable in possession. I think in Japan they give defenders a fair bit more time to kind of build the play, which is obviously not something you get too often in Scotland. But it should be said, I think that Inamura looks pretty comfortable when he has the ball. He's very left-footed, and he actually got an assist for the winning goal in this match, the only goal in this match. It was a 1-0 win. He picks the ball up. This is 20 minutes from the end. Picks the ball up deep in his own half and plays this brilliant 50 to 60 yard switch out to the wide right. And it's an inch-perfect pass. And the right winger ends up getting it, cuts inside and scores an absolute belter. But it was an example of Inamura's passing being a real strength of his game. Like, it was a really terrific left-footed kind of drifted pass out to the wide right. And I wonder if that's what we've really seen in him. You know, a defender who can play with the ball and be really progressive. Because I think that was an issue at times last season. It was an issue even that Brendan Rodgers brought up himself. If you think back to the League Cup final, we're trailing Rangers at the break and Austin Trusty comes off, no injury at all. And Liam Scales comes on after the game. Brendan Rodgers explains that it was an issue with, I think he spoke about how we were able to play through the lines, and he felt that Liam Scales was a bit more progressive. So I wonder if that's what we're looking at here with Inamura. Is he a player who could play alongside Carter Vickers and be that real kind of missing link we've potentially had in terms of being able to play out from the back? Someone who can move the ball well, but also find these real long passes like Virgil van Dijk used to do for us. So yeah, we'll take a closer look at Inamura if this deal does become a reality. All the games are there for me to have a look at. I might even catch up with my old Japanese football buddy Sam Robson from the 67 Hail days. I'm sure he'd be able to offer some insight on Inamura. Just elsewhere on the centre-back stuff, did see a report in Poland yesterday from an outlet called Kanał Sportowy saying that Maik Nawrocki may join Pogoń Szczecin, who finished 4th in the Polish league last season, so a decent enough team. Don't think they're in Europe, but doesn't massively matter to us. Their CEO, a guy called Tan Kessler, says that talks are happening here between the club and Nawrocki. The outlets say that a loan deal is most likely here. So certainly when you're getting reports again in Poland and you've got the CEO from this club actually coming out and saying that discussions are ongoing with Maik Nawrocki, it seems like something is happening here. And as I say, you know, him moving out on loan back to a Polish team seems like it might be happening here. Personally, I'd be a bit disappointed in that. I don't know if it's a controversial opinion these days, but I think Nawrocki might well be the second best centre-back we currently have at the club. I don't think he's been given a fair crack of the whip at Celtic. I think in the limited occasions we saw him last season, near the end of the season, he looked pretty accomplished, most notably in that derby defeat to Rangers at Celtic Park. He was our best player that day. Good against Aberdeen at the end of the season as well. And I don't think I'm alone in kind of hoping that he would be given at least pre-season to potentially show himself and maybe work his way into Brendan Rodgers' plans. I think the reality is that he's not fancied by Brendan Rodgers for whatever reason, and there's not much we can do about that as fans. So seems like he might be heading, and Yeah, personally, I think it's a mistake, but as I say, there's not much we can do about it. There's also been a bit of chat online. I've not paid too much attention to this, but I've seen some chat about Cameron Carter-Vickers potentially leaving, Nicholas Kuhn potentially leaving. I think is it RB Leipzig have been linked with Kuhn. Doesn't seem like there's anything really to be worried about at this stage. I think we all accept that one big name is probably going to depart the club each summer. That's just the transfer model. To be honest, in recent years, we've tended to lose more than one. I would hope that maybe only one would go this summer. Reo Hatate seems like the obvious one to me, and maybe when you look at how quickly we're going about trying to sign a creative midfielder, Benjamin Nugren deal said to be relatively close, then that maybe adds weight to the feeling that Hatate could be off this summer. And if that's the case, fine. I would certainly not want to lose Cameron Carter-Vickers at all. Nicholas Kuhn, people can have their debate about that. I think if we get the Nicholas Kuhn we had in the first half of last season and he makes a start to pre-season like he did last pre-season, then absolutely fine with him being the right winger. He can be a huge player for us. But I also think there is, a bit of an argument over whether, Nicholas Kuhn can bring that form again, because the second half of last season was really disappointing. So we'll wait and see with that. But I think if we can get in Nugren, Inamura, Osmond doing it as well, if you want to include him, then that would be a really positive start to the transfer window. And then we could look at some other positions from there. But yeah, that's us for today, everyone. Appreciate you all tuning in. Enjoy your Tuesday. I'll be back tomorrow.